Imagine a line of well-being. When your spirit feels strong and the world feels good around you. Back in the day, Aboriginal people's well-being went up and down. But we've had a strong culture for tens of thousands of years. Then whitefellas arrived to take over the land. Seems they forgot to ask us. And so a process of dispossession began and continued. The taking or loss of land and home, of access to food. Many of us even had our language, our law, and our culture taken. It can break your spirit. Colonisation brought years of control, shooting, massacres, poisoning, and disease. And later, they made policies based on breeding Aboriginal people to be white, smoothing the dying pillow. This led to the stolen generations, when children were taken away from their parents and loved ones. Imagine the amount of grief all those mums and dads of aunties, uncles, grandparents and grandchildren left behind. Those children away from their families and everything they knew. And it wasn't just that. All these basic rights were withheld. To marry, to keep your own earnings, because we were Aboriginal. Imagine everyone around you has gone through the same trauma. So just about everyone's well-being's probably gone down. The well-being of whole families and communities through generation after generation. The miracle is that our human spirit survives. Aboriginal people are strong. Slowly, those policies and practices began to change, so that today we are on this journey of healing and re-empowerment. So there's plenty of Aboriginal people with strong health and well-being, but there's still too many of us where life is hard. What we don't heal in our own life, it's really easy to pass on to our children. We need to talk about this. When you speak to people recovering from trauma, they'll say, "My loved ones were my rocks." Now, what if you and your rocks are crumbling? You try to grab hold and they fall back, bruising you, rather than helping you out. When there's been low well-being for many generations, there's high levels of violence, shortened lifespans, illness, high levels of substance abuse, alcohol, imprisonment. Too many of us are affected by suicide. So even if we had total justice today, a lot of our kids are born into this pit here. Kids living in traumatic environments may think the world is about flight or fight, instead of love and attachment. And this means they may get in loads of trouble or have trouble forming healthy relationships. So, all this trauma from those policies and practices echoes down through the generations, rather than getting better with time. Like I said, plenty of our mob are way up here, but we've got links down into this pit. We can spend our lives trying to pull people out, and it's really easy to get pulled back in. As an Aboriginal person, everyone expects you to be down there. And it can feel like a place you belong. So what we are dealing with is complex. We are all facing a massive challenge. Too many people think this pit is Aboriginal culture. And some of the ways we are dealing with this trauma is just sending people further into the pit. But we don't belong there. This is what happens when you systematically dispossess a people. We've got to think differently. Now, one thing we can do together is stand solid with the people up here. Change lies in the hands of strong and supportive Aboriginal role models in communities and organisations. When more Aboriginal people stand up here, and when the ground they're standing on is more solid, it will be much easier to break the cycle of low well-being, and we can pull more people out. We don't want you non-Aboriginal people to fix us up. We don't want rescuing, and we don't want protecting. But we do need you to walk alongside us. And we need you to see that this is shared Australian history. We want you to support our strength. We want you to listen and understand how those of us who've been caught in the pit got there. We want you to stand solid with our strong Aboriginal people as we heal and design our own solutions.